what's up everyone? TJ here. In this video, I'm reviewing the Bataleon Disaster Plus snowboard. Let's get into it. All right, for your reference, I'm 5'10", I weigh 155 pounds, and I rode this snowboard in size 151. Now, the Disaster is a notorious jib and freestyle snowboard on the Bataleon lineup, and the Plus version is gonna have the same shape and geometry, but is built with a lighter weight construction and made from their most premium material. So that's gonna be the biggest difference between the two. It's a little bit stiffer as well, but still a very flexy, jibby snowboard overall. But we'll talk more about that later. It is a true twin snowboard, so you're gonna get that same versatility in either direction, of course, as well as the staples from Bataleon. So you're gonna find their triple base technology, which is a 3D base shape in the nose and tail of the snowboard that you're gonna find outside the bindings, where the base and edge is beveled up slightly, starting outside the bindings very mellow, and gradually getting taller and taller to the widest points here. The contact points are gonna have the most uplift. It's gonna make the board very catch free and give it a nice, smooth, quick edge to edge transition as well. You're also gonna find a full positive camber profile. So traditional camber from contact point to contact point, but it is a mellower camber, so it's Bataleon's low camber, so it doesn't have that much of an uplift to it, but overall still full camber, wants to hold tension, provide pop and snap. So it's gonna have a little bit more energy compared to a flat or rocker option that you might find on the market that's similar to this snowboard, a more jib oriented snowboard. Other than that, you're gonna find a lot of carbon built into this one as well. It runs their central carbon super tube as well as several carbon stringers throughout the layup of the snowboard. It's gonna help further amplify the energy you're gonna find out of that camber while still keeping the board nice and lightweight. That's one of the big goals here with the Plus series on Bataleon, is make the boards more energetic and use a nice lightweight core so they feel very maneuverable and light underfoot. You're also gonna find their shock wall sidewalls in the Disaster Plus. So that's a urethane sidewall, the same material that skateboard wheels are made out of. It's gonna help absorb vibrations and minimize chatter. And you're also gonna get a sintered base in this one. So that's a higher end base material that's harder and more durable compared to an extruded base, but it is a base material that you do want to wax regularly to maintain a nice consistent glide throughout the season. Always great to see that in a higher end snowboard though. So overall with the Disaster Plus, you're going to get a nice jib oriented freestyle board that's built with Bataleon's most premium materials. As you'd expect with any snowboard that's geared towards more jib focused riding, the Disaster Plus does have a relatively soft flex. It's not the softest board in the Bataleon lineup, but it is going to come through with a very playful, pressable feel overall. And it's one of the most dominant characteristics about the feel of this snowboard, and one of the main reasons why it's so much fun in my opinion. And I think one thing that really plays into that in combination with that triple base technology is flat ground. This board is so much fun for butter tricks. One of the best boards you could get in my opinion if you enjoy that type of riding as you're cruising around the resort, working on those kinds of tricks. That softer flex is gonna allow for nice, tall, great looking presses while still being very catch free and confident as you're leaning into the nose or tail. You know this board's not gonna hook up, and really just kind of unlocks that side of snowboarding to make it much easier and much more fun. So that was one of the biggest highlights for me with this one. And another thing that's great about the Disaster Plus is that it still comes through with some decent energy and snaps when you're popping out of those tricks, or taking this thing in the terrain park. It is going to offer some decent snap and pop. I'm going to be a little bit limited with that softer flex, but like I mentioned before, it is traditional camber from tip to tip. So if you're comparing it to something else on the market that's very jibby, that maybe has like a flat to rocker profile or overall reverse camber dominant profile, it's going to come through with a little bit more energy than something like that. And as you'd expect, this board is going to shine the most in the terrain park and riding with a more freestyle approach to the resort, and does definitely lean towards the more rail side of things when it comes to park riding. One thing I really like about this one though is that it can be a lot of fun regardless of where you're at with freestyle riding. So if you're, more beginner rider or someone who's just starting off in the terrain park, it's going to be a great choice to learn the fundamentals, really build those skills up. That softer flex is going to allow you to learn those more techie tricks more easily, give you more slow speed control, and just generally is going to do what you want to do more easily without fighting back too much. So great for early freestyle progression. And if you're a more experienced rider and just enjoy jibbing, it's gonna make those more technical tricks a little bit easier. That softer torsional flex not only makes it more maneuverable on the approach and gives you a little bit more fine-tuned control, but can also help out a lot when you're working on those tricks like spinning on and off of features, where you can kind of use that to leverage on the rail to initiate rotation. So has the potential to be a great board for pretty much any rider out there, depending on what style of snowboarding you're most interested in. And it's still fun on jumps as well. I will say it's probably better suited for features more on the small to medium side, just because as you start to step things up and ride with more speed, more momentum, and get more forces into the snowboard, that's when you're going to notice that softer flex a little bit more, and you might feel like this board's a little bit washy compared to something stiffer on the Bataleon lineup like the Evil Twin or the Goliath. So not something that I would really knock the board for, since this is a jib focused snowboard, but something to be aware of. Now, outside of the terrain park, this is going to be a more mellow, cruisy kind of snowboard. I do want to talk about the carving experience you're going to find here with the Disaster Plus. First off, at size 151, you're going to get a 24.8 centimeter waist. So it's a relatively narrow snowboard. It's going to make it very quick and nimble edge to edge, but is something to keep in mind if you have a larger boot size. You might want to consider a little bit of a wider option. It does have a 7.6 meter side cut at this size as well, which is just a very versatile side cut. It's going to feel good at a wide variety of speeds and make this board feel comfortable really wherever you take it. I will say though that if you are, ripping around the groomers, exploring with your friends, and you start to open this thing up, get it up to those higher speeds, that's when you're going to notice the limitations of this board much more quickly. You're going to start to find a little bit of chatter in the tips. It might feel a little bit squirrely, or in like late season slush or more variable snow conditions, it might tend to get pushed around a little bit easier just because it does have that softer torsional flex. At the end of the day, that's not the main focus of this snowboard, but again, something to keep in mind as a potential limiting factor depending on what you're looking for. Overall, even though this board does have some limitations that stem primarily from that softer flex, this is a really, really fun snowboard, and I like how approachable it is for pretty much any rider out there. If you like presses, you like getting buttery, you're spending quite a bit of time in the terrain park, this is going to be an excellent choice that's very lightweight and still offers some decent snap as well. So if that sounds like fun to you, consider the Bataleon Disaster Plus. I'm gonna have this snowboard linked down below if you want to learn more about it. Leave any questions for me down in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about this board as well if you've had a chance to ride it. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Thanks for hanging out today. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. We'll see you in a new review next time. Later, guys.